Welcome to SNEC 2025, the world's largest show on solar and battery storage. My name is Michael Schmela. I'm the Managing Director of TaiyangNews, all about solar. And I'm here with Guang Yang, the Head of Technology of HyperStrong, a very interesting battery storage company that's making actually a global expansion and is a serious player in that field. And we just want to talk a little bit about the storage market, technology, simply kind of try to put in a nutshell what HyperStrong is planning. So let's maybe talk a little bit about this energy transition. So we're seeing, of course, we're coming from solar, that in the mature markets, actually, solar is sort of reaching a glass ceiling almost, because you see more and more negative electricity prices, there's curtailment, there's also low solar capture rates. I think the value of solar is simply going down because the peaks are so strong. And then there's battery storage. Yeah. So there's a flexibility option which is much faster and also cheaper than gas, on which still a lot of countries are looking at and banking on. So just tell us a little bit how you see actually this storage, the battery storage option.
Yes. Thanks, Michael. I think you already touched on the essence of the issue. With renewable energy, wind or solar, they're intermittent and it fluctuates all the time. And especially for solar, there's a very obvious pattern during the daytime. The solar energy generation peaks, and then the transmission part is also I think affect the renewable energy generation a lot. The reason why we have like a zero or even negative electricity pricing is especially because there's no enough transmission capacity. That's how energy storage came into the picture. HyperStrong is one energy storage company, and we use lithium-ion batteries. And the company was founded in 2011, but we expand our energy storage business into the international market after the pandemic. So it's not too long ago. For now, we are having our sales centers in Europe, in North America, in APAC, and in Middle East. And we see strong demand from our international market. As you mentioned, the reason why ESS is very important, especially for renewable energy and the solar, is that it exactly solved the issue we just mentioned. It peaks at the daytime, and at that time, the electricity price is really low. Now, for us to play in this area, the energy storage becomes a time shifter. So you essentially save energy during the daytime, and then try to discharge the battery when the price is high and also generation is low. The logic is simple enough, in this case, and for HyperStrong, we're trying to provide the most competitive product in terms of performance. We talk about round-trip efficiency, we talk about lifetime, and we also talk about availability. I think that's pretty much the story.
Let's maybe stay a little bit on this, on the value of battery storage. Because of course the night is long, and solar, wind actually kind of have a certain number of hours they are kind of really producing electricity. I think in the beginning actually you had usually 2-hour storage capacities. I think it's getting longer and longer. Yeah. I think we've been seeing actually recently, I think a first project in Australia, I think at 8 hours or so that's being developed. So where are we getting to? So how much can actually batteries really cater to, and to get through basically the whole night, and to really flatten the peak?
Right. I think the trend you're mentioning, we also observe the same thing. In the past, 2 hours is dominant. Now we see more and more 3 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, and 8 hours. I think the reason is more and more solar and wind, renewable energy are connected to the grid. Now with more and more electricity generated at the peak time, we need to save those energies somewhere. And then if you look at the electricity pricing, I think the net zero or even negative electricity price will become longer and longer, simply because more and more renewable energy are connected into the grid. I think that's one reason why the energy storage hours become longer and longer, so that we can more efficiently save the energy at peak and then discharge it at the belt.
It's of course a question of cost, right? So I think the longer it...
Right. And also there's some more technology perspective behind the scene. With longer and longer hour, in terms of heat generation, it become less and less. And then the amount of energy you use in thermal management become less and less. And that also means the round trip efficiency becomes higher and higher. So there's certainly some advantages going longer hours.
Okay, so when we look at the global storage market, actually, you said you're a global company. It has been growing quite dramatically. I think one can use that word, so because it was so steep. So and you have different segments. So it's obviously the behind the meter products, and it's also the in front of the meter market, the utility scale markets, and of course it depends also on the different segments in or the different countries and the maturity of these markets. What's more being asked for? So what do you have on offer, and what's your focus?
Right. I think it's a very good question. It actually coincides with the main theme we're advocating this year at SNEC. If you look at our booth, we now talk about ESS plus X. Here, X refers to different use cases or different scenarios. We talk about oil field, we talk about charging stations, we talk about data centers. Those are different use cases. Some of them are behind meter, some of them are from the meter. For us, we offer the whole series of products. For instance, we have HyperBlock IV as our major product we can deliver right now. It's a utility scale. Now we are working on the next generation, what we call HyperBlock M. M stands for more flexibility, magic, flexible in many different directions. There we created 10-foot container. So HyperBlock IV is a 20-foot. So HyperBlock M is a 10-foot, but it's more flexible. So you can assemble 2, 4, 6, 8 different HyperBlock M. It could be back to back or it could be side by side. So it offers customer more flexibility. When they have power constraint or energy, the amount of capacity constraint, or even land constraint. So it's more flexible. So those are for our grid scale. And then for C&I or behind meter, we have cabinet. So they have a 232 kilowatts hour or even more than 300 kilowatts per hour offerings. And we also have even smaller ones like the charging station. We have charger and ESS all-in-one solution. There we have 100 kilowatts hour or even smaller ones. No matter which scenario we provide solution for, we emphasize performance equal in round trip efficiency, lifetime availability. That's the number one requirement from our customer. Also, the most important product characteristic when we design, we will focus on. But there are also some difference for different scenarios. For instance, for the grid scale, it's usually large capacity, lower C rate. Now for charging station, it's usually maybe higher C rate. It doesn't need too much capacity because The major function of the all-in-one solution, charging solution, is that at the peak hour, you need to expand the capacity. It usually exceed the transformer capacity, but not by too much, and it lasts for a very short time. And somewhere in between, we have C&I. There we have maybe larger capacity than the charging station requirement. Then in terms of power, may need a little lower power than charging, but maybe greater than the grid scale. So for different scenarios, we have different standard product, and also we fully respect for our customer. They often have a customization need for their specific requirements, specific use cases. So we maintain that flexibility. On one hand, we design and manufacture standard product. On the other hand, we maintain the flexibility and the willingness to also be a fast response, one we tailor for different customization.
And so what would you say is the main USP or the main differentiator from these large amount of storage companies that have come also into the market? So where is HyperStrong especially strong?
I would say there are two major aspects. One is from our product aspect. We emphasize performance, values, rather than just cost. If you look at low cost, for some of the use cases, we can offer low cost products. But what we emphasize more is cost performance ratio. We try to provide the best performance product for our customer. The one I just mentioned, like round trip efficiency, lifetime, and availability. I think we have the highest performance numbers in the industry. That's one thing. And also to guarantee a high performance product, we need to work closely with our vendors. We have I would say strict enterprise standard on batteries, on PCS, on those critical components. Before they can be integrated into our system, we have comprehensive testing performed on them. If you have a chance to visit our Beijing or Zhuhai testing center, you can see how big the facility is. Roughly, we spend 200 million RMB on those two testing facilities. So we emphasize a lot the quality of our product. That's one major aspect. The other major aspect is the services we provide. In the past, I think we deliver products to our customers as fast as we can. But in the future, besides the best performance product, we also emphasize services. So by services, we essentially talk about the project planning phase. When we work with our customers, we need to understand their use case much better than before, right? If they run a solar farm, we need to look at their historical maybe energy generation curves. We can also look at electricity pricing curve. Of course, with the help of customers, we can do some AI-based analysis and tell the customer what's the best configuration of ESS will be for your specific use case. And also, I think for project planning phase, capital raising is another major, headache for our customer. What we can do is, since we have deployed more than 30 gigawatts hour ESS already, so we know the performance, we know all the performance curves. So we can do some analysis and prove for our customer in the back. This is how our system is going. And then this is the in the front project planning. Also, after the product delivered, we also provide O&M and also training for customers.
Super. So let's talk maybe briefly once also about safety. It's I think also an important topic in the battery storage industry. So how is your view and on safety?
I think that's the bottom line. Every customer care a lot about safety. For us, we build a lot of technology to our ESS to guarantee safety. For instance, we have multi-dimensional sensing built in our system. Force, voltage, temperature, gas sensing, you know, all the different dimensional sensing you can think of, we already built into our system. And also we built in some AI technologies. For instance, once we have temperature sensing, gas sensing, maybe force sensing built into the system, we can predict, or we can, let's say, maybe envision some potential safety issues, safety concerns, not to the level, we have maybe a fire hazard or even explosion that occurred, sometime down the line. We can predict maybe between 21 days to 7 days, 3 days before the incidents actually occur. This may involve the HVAC system. It may involve some specific cell the anomaly in the system. Once we can predict that, we can send people to the site and do some preventative maintenance. With that, we can, let's say, solve any safety concerns way before it actually.
Okay, perfect. I think let's talk also a little bit about ESG. So I think which is important not only because of regulatory topics. I think some markets are more strict on that than others. Actually, I think in Europe there was a strong push actually for ESG is now actually taking somewhat back on the regulatory level because the European Commission thought actually that it might be actually too strict for some companies, but big corporates nevertheless have it actually high on their mind simply because they are responsible and it's also important to their customers actually, and so they really take care. So how are you catering to that? So what's your vision actually, and how you turn that into action for ESG?
Yeah, so we fully realize the requirement ESG is becoming more and more critical, especially if we would like to ship our product overseas. We need to satisfy those regulations. For ourselves, because we have the factory built in China, we start tracking the carbon emission. We also work closely with the cell vendor. We do all the traceability required. That's on our part. And also, when we create a new production line, we try to introduce more efficient and more intelligent manufacturing equipment, and try to lower the energy consumption as much as we can. Essentially, whatever we can do to satisfy ESG on our part, we will do it. And then the other big portion is, how well does our vendors, perform on ESG? That's also important. That comes back to the ones I just mentioned. When we work with vendors, we will do a lot of testing. But besides that, we also require a lot of ESG related documentation or certification from our vendor. They have to demonstrate and show the satisfactory record or even certification from them before we can fully collaborate with them to integrate the product into our system. So we realize the requirement of ESG. We work with vendor. We also strive a lot to improve our own ESG record. So with the both, I hope that can satisfy the ESG.
Let's dive a little bit deeper into the E of the ESG. You're also having this concept of green manufacturing. Can you just lead us a little bit through this?
Right. I kind of touch upon those points.
Yeah.
All right. So on one hand, we introduce more intelligent, energy efficient equipment in our production line. The reason is to lower the energy consumption, lower the carbon emission. That's more on the side. And also, we already built a green factory in our function base. We introduced solar energy, rooftop solar. So try to introduce more green energy into our factories. That's again more on the E side. As I mentioned, vendor, that's another thing. I think with all of those, uh,
It's pretty green,
that's a pretty green. Yeah.
Okay, so let's maybe talk about your motivation and actually your background. You're really a technology-driven company, so which is really great because I think there's still some way to go. So much things are still happening in the sector, and I think this is probably also the way to differentiate. Also, I think in order to be a leader, you have to be also a technology leader with all the other aspects like services and so on. So tell us a little bit about your R&D roadmap. So what are your plans?
Yeah, in terms of product, we realized that in the past year, not only HyperStrong, also other integration suppliers, they try to emphasize maybe bigger system, more the energy density system. We really realize that it's good to have, but that may not be the only direction. So that's why we created a HyperBlock M. So try to provide more flexibility for our customers. In terms of the technology roadmap, we emphasize two sides. One is the product itself. As a vendor, system integration company, we work on our key technology components like the VMS, PCS, EMS. Those are we still spend a lot of effort working on. The reason we work on those components is that only with those control system, we can integrate system really well. If you want to customize the control strategy, we know how to do it. We can do it really quickly. But at the same time, we don't fully rule out all the other collaborators. For some company working on EMS, we realize the customer in some cases would like to maybe use a specific brand of a system. We are fully open. So the only issue is that how well or how quickly we can integrate it with performance. So on one hand, we created our own offering. We try to provide more and more flexible and more efficient components. On the other hand, we are fully open. We can integrate any other third-party component to our system. That's one side. And the other side, with all the AI technology advancement in the recent years, we also work on AI. Essentially, we work on all artificial intelligence. I think way before this AI hype, if you like. We started from 2011. We do all the data collection, data analysis, and form a closed loop way before the AI technology become mainstream. For now, we build AI models for our key component and the entire system. For different use cases, we customize the control strategy in order to guarantee the best performance. Now, in order for this to happen, we have to use the AI model, do full simulations, and do customization, optimization. And it has to form a closed loop. And then what the system actually run in the field, we also need to collect data and do very careful assessment whether what we design actually perform to the expectation. Now, in many cases it does, but in some other cases there's small glitches. So we have to adjust in the field the control strategy to guarantee the best performance. So how to build the AI technology into our system, into all the control strategies, that's another very big aspect. So to differentiate, the product performance, also AI technologies, and how those two can form a closed loop and guarantee the best performance for our end customers and generate the greatest revenue for them. That's what we're striving for.
Maybe one point also, and it's also about project development and about strategy. When you look at the bigger solar companies, they've been integrating first vertically from wherever they came from. They started in silicon, moved then maybe to modules, or the other way around. And they did it also horizontally. So they started with modules, so in the module value chain, then they added maybe an inverter. They started to do racking systems. Then some of them started packaging, actually also battery cells. And then some of them even went also now into into battery cell manufacturing. So how do you see yourself when you're seeing something like that coming from the solar sector? Are you fully focused actually on the battery product? Is this the technology of choice that you simply say, okay, that's what we're good at, that's what we're coming from? Or are you also looking beyond that and maybe even thinking about hydrogen, electrolyzers, or whatever?
Okay. Up to this point, HyperStrong have not produced any battery cells. Maybe in the near future, we're not planning to do that. But on the other hand, I think what you just said makes sense. For the solar company to go vertically or horizontally, get into the upstream vendor space. Our belief is that we shouldn't take all others' cake, for the benefit of the entire industry. But on the other hand, I think different, let's say different, the chains for the entire ESS chain. Different companies, they are good at different things. Like the vendors to us, they produce battery. They can do it, very well at very low cost, very, high, performance. We are very glad to our top vendors, working on their battery cell, product. But on the other hand, since they're not system integrators, in some cases they don't know what we need. So it's our belief that we have to work closely with the cell vendors to define the best battery cells. At the moment, we are actually doing that. We work with them, and in terms of the sizing, the capacity, all the critical performance numbers, what should they be? Only with the collaboration with the integrator and the cell vendors, we can define and actually produce the battery cell for ESS system. That's our belief. And also, I think we would like to work with other vendors as well, like PCS, EMS in some cases, from the system perspective. And we try to do hand holding with all the other companies. Only we can create the best performing system. We can make our system, our company, and also other companies really successful. Only the entire industry, they can step forward altogether. That's a win-win for everybody. I don't believe in one company go, far ahead of the others. They can still maintain that advantages for a very long time. That may not be the case. Only we do hand holding with all the other friends, and we go together. That's good for everybody. That's good for the industry. That's good for the overall ESS industry.
Super. I think so. Maybe one final question. Let's look into a crystal ball now. So if we sit here again next year, so what will have changed in the industry and what has changed with your company?
Okay, I think this year we talk about ESS plus X. Maybe next year, I think everybody start realizing that ESS companies should really generate value for their customers. That's the number one goal. Perhaps next year, every integrators, maybe every other, I think, friends, as I just mentioned, realize what's the most important part for the entire industry is value generation for your customers. For vendors, they generate value for us. For us, we generate values for an end customers. Maybe next year, everybody realize that. Then we don't compete on pricing only. I think that's a losing position, for everybody. Only we can generate the best performing product for their customers. That's a win for everybody.
Okay, super. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Michael.